it didn't take me too long to learn that actually the better thing to do, and comes back to that mindset shift, is to allow every member of the team influence the culture. So I changed the model to just show up as you are. Here's what we're trying to accomplish. How do you fit in? How do you make us better?
Welcome to the Insurance Refocused podcast, where we're highlighting real agent stories and how they are innovating to respond to the changes and challenges happening in the independent insurance industry. My name's Lindsay, and I can't wait to introduce you to my amazing co-host, who just so happens to be my mom, Carey Wallace. Mom, how you doing today?
I am having a great day, Lindsay. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm looking forward to a good weekend. There's a beach market that I'm headed to. Has a wine stand, so that is going to be.
It's going to be the focus, right?
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm excited for the weekend.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I'm pretty excited. I'm going to spend the weekend at home. I know it's unusual, but I'm going to actually be in Hilton Head this week. So 2 straight weeks at home does a lot for the soul. I will tell you that for sure. So
Are you
anyway,
going to be home and off the computer, or just home?
listen. Let's not go crazy. What's the matter with you? So anyway, I am pretty excited because we have a guest today, and he was one of my favorite people that I got to have a dinner conversation with. That honestly, I think that dinner could have lasted 6 hours, and I still wouldn't have had enough. So today we have Emmanuel Osuyah. He's many things. He is an author. He is a recording artist. He's a keynote speaker. He's a fantastic independent agency owner, along with several other businesses. But mostly, he's a super good friend of mine, and I am honored to have you on our podcast. Welcome.
Really a pleasure to be here with you today. With that kind of introduction, I'm just going to take you everywhere I go. Just say it, and let me just walk out on stage. You already make me sound like a hero. I like it.
You are a hero. I mean, I will tell you, I do want to talk about that dinner because, we were at a Big I event in the state of New York. We were at Go Big, and I had heard of you. I had heard your name, but it's really interesting when you sit down and you dig in with someone, you get to know who they are. And that's what I felt like happened that night, right? Like it was very cool, really, really cool. So anyway, I'm glad that we get to have the conversation. This time we just get to record it, right? How about that?
That's right. I'm ready. Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. So let's start at the top though. Let's start at, you have this incredible background. I mean, honestly, you do, right? And I would love to dig into that and learn a little bit more. And maybe the people that don't know you, give us a little bit about that background in your words, maybe the 3-minute background of who you are and how you came to be in insurance.
Yeah, so lots of layers. So I'll throw you way back to Nigeria, where I was born and raised, grew up and did college there. And then in college, I started singing with a band, and that's how I started touring as a singer. Next thing I know, I'm in the United States. Fast forward later, I meet my wife in grad school, and then I proposed to her mother to buy her Allstate agency. Well, that didn't work out. Had this sign I couldn't sell Allstate to anybody. So we revamped the contract, and I was able to purchase a small brokerage book she had, and I went independent. So since then, I've just been trying to build the agency. Many false starts, many failures, and you just if you're committed enough, you find a way. Almost quit multiple times, almost filed bankruptcy a few times, but just kept going back to finding a better way. There's got to be a way, and to say where there's a will, there's always a way. And we're coming up on our 20th anniversary now next year. And I just look back at even all my photo albums, and you could just see all the teams I've tried to put together at different times, and it keeps falling apart. But today, as I look back, I'm just grateful for all the mistakes, all the things we learned. And today we're able to do it the way we want. One of the things that I've learned over time is to just stop looking at others to tell me how to build my business, learn from them, but always make sure that I have my own vision and therefore my own path. So a few bruises, but here we are. Correct. Great question, and thanks for catching me. I just sped through that. I worked with my father when I grew up in Nigeria, and one of the things he always taught me was not to mix family and business.
Oof.
But I was a banker, and so I wanted to go into this space where I owned my own business because I had that vision from the time I was a 10-year-old. I always wanted to own a business, and I would visualize being a business owner in the future, just like my father. Well, what ended up happening is I looked at franchise contracts and they all needed six figures that I just didn't have, 250K for McDonald's at the time. And so my wife brought that up and said, my mother has been trying to have me take over the agency. I'm like, take over. Okay, I don't want to do it that way. How about we structure it? And I try to get a loan, purchase the agency. And so in my world today, that represents how I came into the industry. I came in through an acquisition by purchasing my mother-in-law's agency, and then became independent. And since then, we've just keep growing. We've just kept growing, doing one acquisition, after the last, and it's been a joy so far.
If you're like me and many other small businesses across the country where hiring, training, and retaining employees is a challenge, Agency VA has a solution for you. Agency VA has over 1,000 VAs hired, managed, and trained in the Philippines, Latin America, and India. But did you also know they have 100 licensed agents here in the US that can help you manage your book? I use a VA who lives in the Philippines, and I absolutely love her. The process was simple. We had a consultation where they asked me my needs, goals, and concerns and matched me with Allie, who has been an absolute game changer for me. Employing Allie through Agency VA has allowed me to focus on my business without worrying about HR concerns, turnover, and monitoring payroll. The best part is the Agency VA team was eager to help my company and also make sure that Allie is getting employee benefits, a competitive salary to help her live a better life in the Philippines. If this is something that you are struggling with inside your agency, please visit Agency VA /Insurance Refocused and set up a time to talk to them about your hiring needs. So, Emmanuel, you said something that resonates with me. There's people on this earth that know they want to own their own business. They are just wired to have a purview, to drive something, to own something, to build something, all of those things. And the beauty is we're in an industry full of entrepreneurs. Like that is,
Yes.
there's no two questions about that. I would love to dig into a little bit about one of the books you recently wrote because
Sure.
you're talking about the mindset that's needed or the things that you need to do in order to be a successful small business owner, even micro business owner. And I'd love to,
Absolutely.
first of all, where do you find the time to actually write books while you're doing all of this? And let's talk about what inspired all of that. I'd love to dig into that for a little bit.
Oh, sure. While you're running a business, you're not thinking about writing a book. You're trying to keep the lights on, keep people paid, right? The way it played out is I started to think about the book years later. So at first, it was all about getting through, the day and keeping everything functioning as it should. But I all the lessons I learned along the way, especially after you go through multiple difficulties and struggles and recessions and hard markets and all these things, Other people start asking you, how did you do it? How did you survive? How, and the reason a book, came out of the experience is because I read a lot. I've read over 800 books over the years, just picked up a habit from one book that says, hey, if you read a book a week, you'll be ahead of 90% of the people in your industry. Just try it. And I'm like, okay, I'm not doing a book a week. I can't do that. There's just no time. But I found a way to do it with audiobooks and summaries and other things. And next thing I know, I have all this content inside of me. And as they say, you become what you consume. So from reading all these books, books started pouring out of me. And to date, I have three different books, different topics. But this last one about the business had to be documented. This story had to be told. And as I was writing each chapter, I could see what was behind it. As I read through the chapter, even if the chapter has a completely different title about marketing and growth and keeping the team inspired and things like that, somehow at the end of the chapter, I'll make my way back to people. And that taught me something. Business is a team sport. Everything we do in the business is about people. So even though the book is titled Recode, as in recoding your mindset, 8 mind hacks for the small business owner, the business owner needs to get in the driver's seat and understand that people are not a resource. People are human. You need to build a connection with them. You need to share your vision with them. You need to carry them along the continuum to carry your company to where you want it to go. But that all begins with a vision. So, chapter one of the book is titled Believing is Seeing, as opposed to seeing is believing, because it begins with your belief. If you believe it in your mind, you can see it play out. So, the book kind of goes through multiple chapters, just reversing the mindset around different topics that a business owner would consider. Um, and just watch out for how things play different because your mindset around those things are different.
I got to tell you, I can't wait to read this book. Yeah, because I've definitely listened to how you've approached certain things, and I am a small business owner. Like I you have to be able to see things through other people's eyes and other people's
Yeah,
experiences, and being able to share that, whether you're an independent insurance agency owner, whether you own a business, any business. I think it's
yeah,
incredibly important to examine your own mindset and make sure that you have the right mindset in order to move that business forward and continue that motion, because we all know the best business owners failed more than they succeeded, right? I mean, the best,
absolutely.
the
So
absolute best. And it's a hard thing to deal with, right?
it is. It is. And every time you fail, you start wondering, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe I should be doing something else. But the reality is, there's something for you to learn. Right, as they say, you fail 100 times, you just learn 100 ways not to do something. Right, and every time I failed, it was difficult in the moment. But when I look back at it, I'm like, well, in a way, I'm sort of thankful that happened because now I got better. One of the things that came out of constantly trying to iterate and do things different and just hitting a wall is you learn to focus on things you can control. So your mindset goes right back to, okay, if I can't grow at a pace of $1 million a year in premium, maybe I can go back to building my employee handbook or building a team culture, or how do I design my A&R program and different things like that. So just shifting your attention to the things you can control, what ends up happening, your company gets to a certain place, your foundation is just solid. And when you have that solid foundation, it's like building a house, you can add multiple floors. What I say to folks, especially business owners, is if you know you're going to build a 3 floor property, your foundation is deeper, correct? So it always is best to start with your vision. I always thought about my company about a place where we'll have 20 employees and all these great things, travel international and all that good stuff. But I realized at the top, I needed to be organized myself to make sure that that foundation is solid. And if we travel international, are there people who are going to run the company while we're gone? So I started to put things in place like, hey, 80% of us need to be licensed. Even our CSRs must be licensed. I was doing that way back. And trying to figure out how to work remotely. All these things we put in place before 2015. So it just allowed us to then layer. on the foundation we've built. And today, as we do even more acquisitions, I'm confident we got the foundation to support what we're trying to build.
Hey guys, if you're looking to improve your bottom line, allow your team to operate efficiently, and really improve that customer retention, I believe you should check out Ascend. Ascend is the all in one insurance payment solution. They are focused on streamlining your invoicing, premium financing, accounting, and they'll even make your carrier payables for you. They are taking agency bill and making it as easy as direct bill. That is a game changer. They integrate with all of the major AMS players. And here's the best part, it's free. There is no subscription, no cost to you. They allow your customers to pay how they want. If you are interested in improving your efficiency, go visit ascend.com/insurance refocused and let them know that we sent you.
Keeps editing it, and I'm waiting for the final version to approve and just send it up to Audible, because as an audiobook
Yeah.
consumer, I enjoy hearing the voice of the authors. Nothing better than
Yeah.
that. And so I wanted to hire someone to read it, but everybody around me said, "No, you read
Oh my
it."
goodness.
Sure.
Please tell me you read it yourself. Oh my
I
goodness.
did.
Okay,
I
good.
did.
Woo. Yeah. Whoever
That's
was around
awesome.
you and heard that you were contemplating having someone else read it was right, just so
Yep.
you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It was all my employees. They said the same thing. They're like, "No, no, 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 no. You have to record it." I'm like, "I can
Oh,
find
that's
someone that sounds
awesome.
like me." They were like, "No, you tell the story yourself."
Yeah.
So let's talk about your people. I agree. This is about people. I don't care who
Mhm.
you are. If you're running a business, your business is the heart and soul. The culture is your people, 100%. So let's talk about your people and what that dynamic looks like, because you said you built several teams and you've now evolved to the team that you have now. So from what I know, you have an agency that's in New York, correct? You also have an agency in North Carolina as well. So you've got remote working happening around you, right? So talk to me about, what does that look like? How do you lead in that environment? And what advice would you give to other business owners? And for us listeners, will most likely be independent insurance agencies that think that they can't lead remotely.
Hmm.
What do you have to say to that?
You absolutely can. You need the mindset shift, first of all. So, the remote work environment for me started in 2014. So, I had everybody in the same office, what we call our flagship in Manhattan. The North Carolina office wasn't live then, even though we were licensed there. And I was licensed in maybe 14 states at the time. We're a total of 18 states today. We have New York, North Carolina, and Florida offices, but in 2014, a new employee I hired in 2013 says, "Hey, boss, I would like to move my family to North Carolina." So yeah, I wasn't as committed to that plan. And she says, "Maybe I can work from home." And I'm like, yeah, people make promises. I can't keep up with that. I said, "Do me a favor. Why don't you write what you think you can do from home? Give me a list of tasks." Well, to my surprise, she educated me. I got a list of 25 tasks, and I could not believe my eyes. I'm like, "Oh, she could really do all these things from home." So she went home, but she was so committed. She said, "If you allow me to take my computer and my phone, I will buy the desk, the chair, everything else, all my supplies, a printer, and we'll test drive this." Okay, so I went for the test drive. Well, I'm glad that she made that move, because she was more committed to the process than I was, because she didn't want to let me down, because she needed the job to buy a home over there and all that good stuff. Well, what ended up happening is she would not let us forget her. She stayed on task. She was plugged in early. Story short, I realized, well, virtual work is a thing. I'm just the one that needs to learn that. Of course, I work from home. My laptop is always with me, but transferring that to another person and having to supervise, that's a whole other layer. Well, fast forward 2, 3 years later, we created our own work from home program and gave laptops to all the top salespeople a couple of days a week from home. And we started to learn how to you make sure our voice over IP and all the features, server, security systems, and all that were in place. So by the time the pandemic happened, we already had a work from home program, and all the CSRs just needed to get their own laptops or take their computers home. So by 2019, we had a full blown program. 2020 pandemic hits, and we were right there. Everybody stay home. The key was just be safe. Let's plug in. Let's take care of our customers, and it was seamless. Um, Looking back today, you have to get more creative, right? Because you could, as a charismatic leader, you can walk in the room and energize people just with your presence. Well, when you don't have that anymore, you got to find a new way. And so we came up with, not just happy hour, we came up with Spirit Week. We came up, and by we, I mean the very employee that chose to work from home. She rose to operations director, and actually tomorrow we're celebrating her 10th anniversary with the company. So it's incredible. I almost walked away from her. In fact, I saw an email I sent to her saying, I don't think this is going to work out. But by giving it a chance, it turned out to be one of the best things for us. She invented Spirit Week and all these things virtually. We do a mid year retreat every year, but we do it in person. And we took it virtual many years ago. Our kickoff meeting virtual, Christmas party virtual. We found a way to do it all. So I would say to a business owner, most business owners who ask me, how do you go remote and make it work? They're concerned about the productivity of the remote employees. What I will say to you is, dear business owner, you are not productive 100% of the time yourself. There is a guy who is adamant about his productivity. He actually works at Microsoft, and there's a book that talks about him. And he is so productive. They say he storms out of meetings. He will not come in until the meeting is about to begin. And that's how he manages his productivity. He's rated in, I think, the top 1% percentile of the in the world. If you're not doing that, you're not as productive as you think you are. So the reality is, most of us are actually horrible managers of our time. But when it comes to an employee, we think we need to police them, monitor them, use a camera, take screenshots. Just let them be. If you have clear expectations of what you expect, where people are going to get up and get coffee, this is not a prison. You should be able to get up and go get what you need, but communicate. Keep a vibrant team chat. Our team chat is alive. I don't need to go in there and say good morning and hey, I'm watching you all. No, everybody just does what they're supposed to do, because the first thing we have, remember the foundation? We've got a true team environment. So when you try to monitor people, make sure that they're at their desk 247, what you're creating is micromanagement, and micromanagement is mismanagement. If you have clarity about the deliverables and what you expect, trust people to be adults. And actually, this topic is in the Recode book as well. There's an X manager mentality and a Y manager mentality. The Y manager believes that if you trust people, tell them what you expect, and just back off, trust them to deliver, and they will. The X manager says no. People are wasteful. They will burn resources if you allow them. So you need to monitor them 247. I'm a Y manager. It is just what it is.
Amen. Amen to that. And, I remember when we were adding one of the first remote workers in one of my previous jobs, the biggest thing was communicate. Like, here's the deal. If you're the person that's working elsewhere, just over communicate. Like, you have to be intentional about communicating. You're not going to run into anyone. So you're going to have to not force it, but acknowledge that that part of the interaction, the human interaction in a relationship driven organization, isn't going to be there unless you create it. So the cool thing is you had someone motivated enough to do that, and then help everyone else who might struggle with how to do that figure that out, right? I mean, it's hard. But it's just intentionality, I think, is the key. And nobody wants to micromanage. I got to tell you, I was talking to my team, and I had come across a person who is dealing with remote by having a Zoom chat up all day. and everybody's in Zoom and they can unmute and talk to each other. And I was like, yikes. I actually suggested it and my team said, please don't ever do that. I'm like, I know, but I'm happy to collaborate when we need to. But that first of all, I wouldn't be able to handle that. You know what I mean? But
Right.
my
That's
point
correct.
is, I want to see my team, but I absolutely do not want to make force that in that way. I feel like there's a way to do that in a less intrusive way, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I agree. People would take advantage, but you know, there are video calls for that. You can check in with folks. If they're not being productive, their output tells the story. It's
100%.
that simple. And
100%.
but if it's a true team environment, people watch each other. Are there days people are going to slack off? Yeah, but it's it doesn't change anything. I would rather they take a break if they need it. The other thing we've put in place is a lot of PTO. The average for us is 7 weeks paid time off at Alpha Direct. If you need a day
Whoa.
off, take a day off.
Are you
Just
hiring?
take the day. We are actually
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. My job.
we are we actually for us it's not just that we're hiring, we have a waiting list. There
Oh
are
my
always people
gosh.
trying to get in, and it's average of 5 to 6 people trying to get in. And we have to guard what we've built, because I'll be
Right.
honest with you, when I started this, I thought I could just spit out all the instructions like, this is what Alpha Direct looks like, and if you don't fit this mold, you do not belong. It didn't take me too long to learn that actually the better thing to do, and comes back to that mindset shift, is to allow every member of the team influence the culture. So I changed the model to just show up as you are. Here's what we're trying to accomplish. How do you fit in? How do you make us better? And of course, people stick around for things that they, are contributing to, and participating in that way. If they have a voice, they stick around to see it. We're in our fourth to fifth employee now, 10 years with the company. The next round are over five, and there are four people over 5 years with the company already. So, our 10th anniversary, we go wild. We do a big party, naming lights, and we send them to a foreign country, all expense paid for two. It's our way of saying we appreciate what you've done. Not a lot of things we do for 10 years straight, besides raising a baby and maybe getting married, if you're staying married, if you're lucky. But most jobs, people don't stick around for 10 years. And I actually feel very blessed to be part of what we've created at Alpha Direct. I can't take credit for it. Everybody has made this happen, and I'm grateful for it.
So you said, I'm sorry, I might have misunderstood, but you have 5 employees or do you have 10 at two different agencies?
Uh, Actually, we're 15 employees total.
Okay.
We have a total of 15 employees, and then we have another four that are sort of bookkeepers and driver and things like that, other roles. So we're a total of 19 people on payroll, but we are at number five that has been with the company 10 years.
Gotcha.
And then we have another round of the next set of people are already over 5 years. So there's six, seven, and
Right.
like that,
Right.
that are then going to celebrate their 10th anniversary as
That'll be
well.
super fun. So how do you manage different generations on the team? If it's a team-driven culture, what does that look like?
Correct. It's very interesting because our generations are not too far apart. When I started the agency, I was young myself, right? I was 29 when I started the agency nearly 20 years ago. So first would attract, if you're licensed, hey, come on board, let's get it done. So we had the age ranges all over the place. But one of the things that I've learned, living in Africa and traveling as a singer, is it doesn't matter the generation. We can all learn from each other. So there are things that someone who's older than us, maybe 10 years, 20 years ahead, would struggle with, but there are things they just bring to the table. And so when I reached that mindset shift of just allowing team members to bring themselves to the team, wherever you are, it made a big difference. If we hired someone really young, oh my God, I would roll my eyes. They don't even know a credit card has 16 digits. Where do I begin? I have to train you that as well. Well, yeah, because you hired them at 19 and they just don't know that. Maybe they don't have a
Right.
credit card yet. And you're putting
Right.
them on the phone to take a payment. They got to learn these things as they go along. So it forced me to be a little more dynamic, right, in my training. What we do also have that's very dynamic is we represent about 10 different countries. So almost all of us is from a different country, each person. And so we enjoy and embrace that. how do you say this in your language? How do you say this in your country? What kind of food do you eat? We do international food days and all kinds of stuff, and share things about our culture. Even in the emojis and emojis we post, we represent our different countries, and it is really really fun at Alpha Direct. I can say so myself.
So I got to tell you, Emmanuel, I don't think I know of any other agency owner that can tell me that they have 10 different countries represented inside their agency. And the reason I talk about this is there's a lot of talk about our industry needs to address becoming more diverse, diversity, like more, we need to integrate diversity inside the industry, inside our
Yeah,
agencies, and really reflect who our customers are, not necessarily the way that it is. So I'm going to come at this a little bit different. I'm a female in a very,
yes,
very male driven industry. In fact, every
that's right.
career I've had has been in crazy male driven. And in some ways, I think that's actually given me a leg up. I know
Okay,
that sounds maybe a little counterintuitive. In some ways, it's created maybe some boundaries or barriers, but in general, our it's been a good thing for me. I will tell you that. Like
yeah,
it's been an incredible thing for me. And I don't want to see equal. I want to see it based on your talent and your abilities. So tell me what
correct.
your thought process is, because you might be the most diverse group of people that I've ever seen inside an agency. I told you that that dinner was pretty insightful. So tell me how you see that working for you all and what you think the industry needs to do.
Yeah, and it's a very good question. One that I don't know that I have all the answers to. I'll try.
Yep.
What I have seen is just being open minded. Right. I learned a phrase many years ago. It was that the mind is like a parachute. It works better when it's open. Right. So just being open minded, not thinking that I have to hire all males for this to work because they're going to be driven, they're going to be ready for sales, and my mindset was more around looking for good people. By good people, people who I can trust. Can I take a customer payment and trust that you will get that cash to the bank? So I started by looking for good people, people just internally good. And if I can trust them, then we can build on that. I also wanted to look for people who had transferable skills. Are you a mom? Are you a teacher in your background, in your past? So a lot of my team members actually didn't come with any sales background. They came from other walks of life. And I stopped looking for licensed people because a lot of times licensed people wouldn't stick around. My team is predominantly made of women. And I learned to appreciate that what they bring to the table because I don't know. I may sound like I'm stereotyping, but women are just so much more detail oriented. My wife is more detail oriented than I am. I tend to be more big, broad picture, 30,000 feet, view, and that's good as the visionary. But when it comes to implementing, you need people who can follow a task list and get things done. And so it's been a blessing of mine to just learn to appreciate that women do bring a lot to the table. It has changed my appreciation for women because, again, there is no life on this earth without women. Men play a role too, fine, that's fine. But but I have learned to understand that women bring a lot to the table. Our industry is starting to do a better job at recognizing that. I want to see more women in executive positions in our industry because they can. They can lead, and frankly, we need their voice. We need a woman's input. We need a woman's perspective. They think deeper and broader than sometimes than men do, and that ability to focus in a world where customer relationship is important. I know for us men, we've learned to do that, but a lot of times women are just caregivers. They're nurturers. They start there. Those things are built in and baked in. So I'm happy to start to see that as I go to conventions and travel around the country as you do, Carrie. I see more of women being involved, and I hope to see more women in the agency force as well. Women owning more agencies and running more agencies because, frankly, we need to do better.
So, as someone who is new to the industry, who came in, I came in fresh out of school to the industry. And I'm not in a sales role. I've never been licensed. I don't have any plans to ever be licensed. I enjoy working for the industry more than I work, or yeah, working like for the industry, like serving the people who are actually doing, which is still an important role.
Of
But I
course.
hear a lot about things like hard markets, rate increases, underwriting, things getting stricter. But for someone who just came into the industry, I don't know any different, and that's probably something that your team, if you have any new people who have joined, are also experiencing. So, what are you doing inside your agency to keep up with those changes and educate your team on what's happening in the industry?
That's a great question. One thing we're doing right off the bat is communicating. So, one of the things I did mention in the virtual environment, we have a newsletter that I write every month. And there are different departments and categories, and I work through the leadership team and give each department a segment, and we kind of talk about what's going on there. When this year started, we would talk about personal lines team, the personal lines manager, and the PL environment being under such a crisis. But eventually, it's all of it, right? It's not just the personal lines book that's getting rate increases; it's also commercial. So we signed up for Kelly Donahue Piro's program to help educate us to be on the same page. Because you would see the complaints in the team chat. Another customer is asking me why their premium went up. I mean, don't they understand we're in an inflationary environment? Yeah, they do, but they think the eggs just went down at the grocery store. Is my insurance going to go down too? So we have to, communicate. One of the things we ended up doing is I created a video just to explain to the customers, like, hey, here's a quick 2-minute video of what's going on. They see these things, but they're not thinking about a direct correlation. A lot of people don't realize insurance is directly correlated with the economy. So with the GDP of a nation, they're like, oh well, it's my insurance. What has that got to do with the recession or the economy? A lot. And so by educating the customer, you have not answered their question, but at least you've created a foundation. There's stuff going on. We're here for you. We will walk you through the process. And one of the things that Kelly does a fantastic job of articulating is what is going on with my insurance agent does not translate to I need you to shop my rate. And that is a hard thing for an insurance agent to get. As soon as a customer calls, you're thinking, oh, they want a different price. I'm going to go shop it. Well, we're in a hard market where it doesn't matter where you go at this point. The rate might be higher, the policy might get over underwritten, and the customer might end up in square one. So you had them aggravated. Now they're even more aggravated. Plus, you lost all the time in between. So our approach is first, let's educate, let's give the customers heads up, communicate, hey, we know what's going on before you even see it. Don't panic. We are aware of what the market looks like, but bring them up to speed. Most customers don't know insurance companies actually reinsure. They've never heard of that term. We use terminology in our industry that we think customers would just, oh, they get it. It's reinsurance. It's simple. No, it's not that simple. So we have to educate the customer. Insurance companies have to buy insurance. Well, if the cost to reinsure that risk and transfer it is much higher, well, how are they supposed to survive? By the way, the premium they charged you a year ago, they're going to pay future claims on old money that's not enough to pay the future claims. So something's got to give. Either they walk away from the market, you wouldn't want that. They find a way to, increase the rate so they can keep your business, and they don't want to lose you. But it's got to make sense so that they can pay claims in the future. And oh, by the way, we can't pretend that we don't see all the storms and floods and collapse of streets in places that never used to happen. Well, how are these things getting paid for? Wildfires that are out of control for months and months, smoke in the sky from nowhere. It's not just not having an impact, it is. But when you help the customer connect the dots, then it makes a lot more sense. Okay, how much is this going to cost me? Are there ways we can increase your deductible and do different things to kind of survive this era? And to your point as well, Lindsay, I was a fan of the conversation leading to a place that says, oh, this hard market, oh, we've seen a few. It's going to heal in about 2 years. Honestly, I don't know anymore. I can't say for sure. Can we say for sure that these climate changes and the things they're going to go away in 2026? We can't say that. Can we say reinsurance prices just going to drop? We can't say that. So in a way, it's sort of new territory. we might be dealing with rate increases and over underwriting and all this stuff that's just going to be the new norm. But what we're committed to is we're going to do everything we can to help our clients through this time. And hopefully we grow from it as well, because this might not change for a while.
Well, and the reality is you're going to move into that advisory role, which is what an independent agent is in the first place. If this was just
That's right.
coverage, different situation. But I think the agents that are looking at this and saying, this is my opportunity to educate and make sure
Mhm.
that my customers are well taken care of and they don't make decisions that put them in harm's way in order to be price driven. Like, this is not a
That's right.
price driven conversation. This is
Mhm.
the environment that we're in and the world that we live in today. So, well, as I said, we could talk for hours. Listen, I know we could talk for hours, right?
It's been 10 minutes. What are you
Oh,
talking about?
listen. So I know the people listening will want to know how to get a hold of you. There's no question about it, because you have a very unique view on culture, on just entrepreneurship, like all kinds of things. If they want to reach out to you, let us know how to do that.
Okay. The easiest way to find me, I love to do things different. Just go to your Amazon shopping cart. Just type my last name, Osuyah, Osuyah. Enter is the fastest way to find
Oh
me.
my
And
God.
of course, I'm of course on LinkedIn. My company website is alphadirectagency.com. Just click on it and just look anywhere. We're on all the social media handles. I don't tweet. I just never was a fan of that. But Instagram, Facebook, all the places you can find Alpha with a PH, Alpha Direct Agency. Just look. You can actually see all the photos going back to almost our origin of all these things I'm talking
Yeah.
about. You can see the photo, you can see the team, you'll see all the nations and all that good stuff. But yes, Amazon cart, my favorite place to be found. Just
That might be
click
my
on it, put my last
Yeah,
name, and
that
you'll
might
find me.
be my favorite instruction of any guest to date, to say, how do you find me? You go to Amazon. That's where you find me. That's awesome. Well, I look forward to talking to you very soon. Thank you so very much for being our guest today. I'm hoping I'm going to run into you in North Carolina. And if not, I guarantee our paths will cross, right?
Oh, absolutely. I'll be at the next event coming up here, the new
Yeah.
incubator space. I should
Yeah.
be at that event as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Emmanuel, for being our
Awesome.
guest.
Absolutely. Good to talk to you both. Lindsay, great to finally meet you.
You too. I know. Hopefully next time in person somewhere.
Absolutely. Thank you both. It's been a great time.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the Insurance Refocused podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, please be sure to hit subscribe and leave us a review so you'll never miss us. Want to learn more about how Agency Focus can help you grow your agency? Head to agency-focus.com or email Carey directly at carey@agency-focus.com. If you need to get in touch with me, feel free to shoot me an email at lindsay@agency-focus.com. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week.